was built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on the gas, never stop competing. If you break my glass, then this life's gonna end.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quench the thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic, but there's logic, you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic.
Built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. No, never stop competing, yeah.
I've been doing this, I'm on it. I just wanna be iconic. Sipping on a gin and tonic, got me going off when I'm on this topic, yeah. If I ever play, I want it. You know that I'm always honest. Stay away from those who are toxic. Keep them out your face, no way, you don't want it, yeah. Don't try to drain my energy. The enemy is everything. It's mentally, unhealthily, spreading like a rare disease. But I won't let it get to me. I don't need your therapy. I can leave a legacy of leading by intensity. Come on, we can fight this. Freedom is priceless. Spread just like a virus. Living in a crisis. Do you feel courageous? Do you seek greatness? Trust me, you can take it. Go on and take your aim. Yeah.
Built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. No, never stop competing, yeah.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
When we get to the FBI, we don't know who did the work. You heard that any of that information is redacted. We don't know who did the work. It's a giant secret. We know that by the time the FBI gets involved, the profile, the text file, that's a snip to use to try to identify somebody is more than twice as big when it gets to the FBI from Othram. We don't know how.
I've got an itch I can't scratch, I'm missing a piece that completes a whole part of me, an open wound scar to see. Everybody come here, gather round, welcome to the freak show, the best in town.
What is going on, Hive? I hope everybody's having an awesome day. Super excited for tonight. I have JJ State of the Deep backstage, and I'm very much so looking forward to him and getting his thoughts on some of the slides that I prepared. And full transparency, Hive, buckle up, because I believe that, as far as I know, I have not heard this until about 20 minutes ago, going through our Discord. I'm reading something and I just looked at it and I said, what the hell? Is this real? Is this true? And that's going to be our one and only Hive Mind find. And then there's also a plethora of documents that have dropped as well. And so, like I said, buckle up. We have a great stream planned, myself and JJ State of the Deep. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. I'm your host, Birdie. I go live weeknights at 7 p.m. Central. We like to think past the headlines. We question the narratives, and anything that everybody else typically just nods along with when the news tells them it's true. We like to question those things. If you have not done all of the things like hit the like button or hit subscribe, both which are absolutely free to do and is by far the best way to support the stream, please go ahead and do so. I also have this lovely QR code if you'd like to screenshot this screen. And then when the live concludes, all you got to do is go to your Photos app, tap that QR code. That will bring up the Hive merch store, the Spotify playlist for all the intro songs, my TikTok, and our Discord. If you would like to support the stream financially and also have access to the emojis, a loyalty badge next to your username, as well as on select Saturdays. So I'm shooting for at least one Saturday, but I try to do 2 Saturdays a month where I go live in the morning on Saturday, and the chat will be reserved for the Hive Plus members only. It's not so much a bunch of presentation by me. It's rather collaboration. So I'm super into the chat. Sometimes I'll drop the link. We'll have call-ins. Some people will present their work, and those are always a ton of fun. I'm going to go ahead and say what's up to everybody, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring JJ State of the Deep up. I did have a poll in the chat as far as what everybody thinks of these new documents, which is, will this batch of new docs contain a quote-unquote bombshell clue or just more random stuff that's weird? 23% of people said yes, there will be a bombshell. 42% of people said no, random stuff again. And 35% of people said, who knows? Probably not. So thank you to everybody who did vote in that. What's going on? Less is more. Tasha from the block, Nebula 1111, Brad Harris, Discord Dog. Shout out to one of my mods, as well as Luna Bliss, formerly known as Beck and the UFO Dog. They will give you enough leash to hang yourself in the chat as long as you're not trolling, spamming, or threatening. Did I just see something about Birdie loving ketchup? Birdie loves ketchup chips, I hear. Ben Folds Kicks 33 said Connor had new Jack Showalter video of his 2024 arrest. Would love to see you and JJ's thoughts on the video. I thought that I just saw a thumbnail for that. I have not seen it. I don't know how long it is, but that could absolutely be something that we react to, Ben Folds. I'm going to actually just pull that up on a separate tab right now just to have ready to go. Let's see. What's going on? Heavily redacted. Oh, it's an hour and a half. Brendan, what's going on? Wouldn't wait 8 hours, said, what's up to JJ, formerly known as Beck, Crop Duster 22, Teary Dawn, Crime Junkie, Bunny Lover, Tiffany Elena, Baby Girl, Lisa Marie, Renee, Beautiful Disaster, Tabby Styles, Jessica says, yo, Birdman, happy hump day. Let's get buzzing, Hive. UFO Dog said, Berdino and the hizzy for shizzy, getting tizzy when I'm busy in the kizzy. When I'm busy, then I'm tizzy when I'm zizzy for shizzy. Damn. How did I just do that? I don't know what just happened. Felt like the Hangover meme where there's just a bunch of numbers like the Matrix going through my mind. What's up, Golden Cheek Unredacted? How you doing? Denise is tuning in from Georgia. Thank you, UFO Dog. What's up, Jasmine, Riz Fizz, Philly Girl, Tiffany. Thank you, Sammy Girl Brown. Simply Samantha, it's favorite time of the evening. Mom Rad, I'm in my mom's car for Shizzy. Nebula. Sid7 said, I made a forensic image analysis and links in Discord. Oh, thank you for letting us know. Again, guys, join our Discord. We got an amazing community there. Always stuff, especially about the Idaho 4 case, but we have threads for other cases as well. Which, guys, speaking of other cases, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Fox Hollow Farms with Herb Baumeister and a gentleman named Rob Graves had bought the property. There are more human remains on the Fox Hollow Farms than there are at Ground Zero, and there's been minimal testing. There was a part 1 of the docuseries that came out last year, maybe even a little bit longer. But last night at midnight, they returned to Fox Hollow, and I had posted a couple of TikToks about this. I'm going to go ahead and just show this about 2 of these detectives.
Imagine sitting across the table from these two, knowing that you committed a crime, and they are about to interrogate you. Steve Ainsworth, Jeff Jellison, you got the guy who could find a needle in a haystack and then find that needle's cousin. And Jeff Jellison is bringing nothing but straight facts, and he's coming with receipts every single time. The awkward silence alone that, without even knowing these two men, I know they can give somebody would make that criminal confess the crime just because of the silence and the stare that they're getting from them. Imagine what it must feel like 2 weeks ago when the Fox Hollow documentary got released, and let's say you were involved in it and you see these two investigating your case. If I ever go missing, please put these two on my case. There is no doubt in my mind that Steve Ainsworth and Jeff Jellison are 100% going to find who is responsible for Fox Hollow. There's no doubt. Whether it be another one person or there's 8 involved, these two are bloodhounds. They will find them. There's no doubt.
So anyways, I made that a long time ago, and then all of a sudden on TikTok, I have a DM from ABC 2020. And one of the producers from Fox Hollow had called me last summer, like right at the beginning of summer, was like, hey, we were so shocked with the outpouring of people looking into the Fox Hollow, and your videos were popping up. Do you mind if you send us, or can we use some potentially? And the next time that we go, we're going back. We can't really say anything. We haven't even filmed yet. And so at the time, again, this is a year and a half ago, I'm just like, sure, whatever, go for it. I was just posting random TikToks, and I'm watching episode 1 last night. And there's like 2 of my TikToks in there that they play a good majority of them, this being one of them, with Jeff Jellison reacting. And then they also had another one where I said, Herb Baumeister might resemble Rob Graves. I'm not making any factual claims. It's just an opinion that I felt like if they age progressed. However, that's here nor there. But guys, anyways, long story short, tomorrow night, we are going to have Jeff Jellison into the Hive. I sent him an email first thing this morning. I have also sent the producer, Angela, an email as well. But Jeff Jellison, the coroner that is investigating Fox Hollow Farm, will be a guest here on the Hive tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central. And so seems like a super down-to-earth guy. Very excited to talk with him. I've actually spoke with him on the phone. I've sent him some emails in the past about this case. So I am looking forward very much so to having Jeff Jellison here on stream. So if you have not watched The Return to Fox Hollow, it's on Hulu, I think. I don't know if there's other platforms, but it's ABC 2020. There's 1 episode out. And so I'm stoked. Very, very excited about that. So looking forward to talking to Jeff tomorrow. Now, to get into this evening's theme, without further ado, we have JJ, State of the Deep. How are you doing, brother, man?
I'm great. What's up, Birdie? What's up, Hive? How's everybody doing?
I'm doing great, bro. You said you thought last night was the big one with the power outage. I'm glad that you're up and running again. What the heck happened?
Yeah, man, there was a massive blackout here that was like stretched all the way from Vail to parts of Aspen. Huge.
wow.
Like the whole I-70 corridor from like 4:30 p.m. until 5:30 a.m. this morning. So no power, no cell service. All the grocery stores shut down. You couldn't even go and like pay with cash. And it was weird, man. It was weird because you start wondering, Colorado's had some wacky stuff going on in the last several years. So of course, the way my brain works, I'm thinking I better start getting the shit hit the fan bag together and start being prepared. And I was pretty nervous that shit was going to go sideways. But thankfully this morning when I got up, the power came back on.
Do you have a go bag? Do you have a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit prepped?
Oh yeah.
Do you have storeable food?
Yeah, I have some. Not I don't have a lot of space in storage, so I have like a little bit. I'm not a prepper, but I have enough to get me by, and like some of those big like 7-gallon jugs of water.
Dude. So I have storeable food, I have some water, I have a go bag. I'm not even ashamed of it because this was like right during COVID. I'm like, bro, it's getting bad. I'm gonna have to bug out, go to the cabin, live off the land for a little bit. And that was right around when I met Mrs. Birdie. So the fact that this woman ended up marrying me without our first date, I start telling her about Tartaria and the mud flood. And then we go back to my place a couple nights later, and oh, there she is. True story, isn't it?
True story.
We go back to my place a couple nights later, and she sees a bunch of food prep stuff for if there's a catastrophe or some cataclysmic event. So
Look, man, I'm not ashamed to admit I've read a lot of those survival books, like the shit hit the fan books, because during COVID, shit got weird. I think we can all agree. Like to look out and see the roads completely empty, like a ghost town, it's like apocalyptic. And so I basically just got prepared to bug out, like if I had to. Like I don't have enough space to store like tons of food and stuff like that. But look, I mean, think about it. When something like that happens and they're telling you we're trying to address the problem before the power and everything, before internet service and cell service shuts down, they're not telling you how long it's going to take or what happened. You don't know how long it's going to last.
no.
And with the water supply here, we've been in a drought. So if the generators run out at a certain point, the water stops pumping, right? That's when stuff can get squirrely. Now we're in the mountains, there are creeks and stuff like that, so it's not as dire as being in the city. But your mind goes to those places, like, because people get weird. Look at what happened with COVID. People get weird when stuff goes sideways.
They get so weird. And I just saw somebody talk about CERN being shut down and how we have like a 4-year window where they're not running that massive particle collider that makes us switch timelines. And there's a bunch of, what do they call that? The Mandela effect. Jill Weimer, thank you so much for the super chat. Said, love it when JJ's out. My first thought was they shut CERN down. Everything's getting weird or more than usual. I've actually felt the opposite. I've seen people post TikToks about this, and it's like, I feel like time is going slower. I feel like days are longer. I've been sleeping better. And look, if you don't know what CERN is, just look up the acronym CERN and then look up their opening ceremony. It'll tell you everything you ever need to know about these people who, in the name of whatever, Satan, science, colliding particles together at light speed that might make us shift dimensions. It gets nuts what they do. And anyways, to finish that rant off, not only do people get weird, JJ, one of the most, I think, to me, intimidating and scary things is that people, they try to become the best rule followers. Like anything that the government will tell you to do, it's like, I probably suck at everything else in my life, but you know what I can do? I can listen to the government better than you. And now I'm going to be an arm of them. I'm going to be the extension. I'm going to be their enforcer. And I can't stand that. And to me, that's when shit gets dangerous, is when it's like, hey, we're in a bad situation. We don't need you acting like your own government either now. Like, we're in the same spot. You don't just get to tell me what to do because the government put some law out.
Well, I talk about this a lot. The way that happens is if you tell a group of people, because, people put themselves into these silos, into these echo chambers. If you tell one group that be the good person because the other quote unquote side is not, right? They're not going along with things. People will fall in line because they want to fall in line with their tribe. And it's in our DNA, and I understand it. Fortunately, I'm pretty good in crisis situations to the point where I know shit's getting weird, but I don't panic. You know, you can't panic because that's how stuff gets real weird.
I have a little bit of panic, but it's like, how would you say it? It's beneficial panic. I probably go a little bit sooner, or I think the worst a little bit earlier than I have to. It's calculated panic, right? Over preparing when there's probably no need for it. But I mean, at this point, we're ready.
Well,
I guess is what I'll
it's
say.
funny. Like in psychology, I'll just share this real super quick thing. The first day I ever took an abnormal psych class in college, they start out talking about, well, what is abnormal? What would constitute an abnormal behavior or abnormal thought process? If you're in Afghanistan and you're diving into ditches because bombs are going off, that would be normal behavior based on the environment. If you're walking down the streets in a suburb and you're diving behind bushes, that's a little unusual, right? So it's all in context. With the world being the way it is, wanting to be prepared, to me, is not panicking. It's just you can be paranoid if you have a basis to be paranoid. You know what I mean? It would be weird if people were paranoid in a totally docile, calm situation. But when the world is going sideways like it has the last 6 years, to be paranoid to me would be normal.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. But you want to know what doesn't make a lot of sense, JJ, is here we are again doing the same dog and pony show in the Idaho 4 case with a plethora of new documents dropped. And I have a question of the day for the chat. And JJ, you can go ahead and start to answer this after I get done reading. But Hive, go ahead, type your answers into the chat, and I will put them up on the screen. The question of the day today is, what is the strategy behind releasing the information in batches and doing so at the pace we are seeing? Is there some sort of known tactic that this seems to be following? Because in my mind, it can go one of two ways. But before I answer, JJ, I want to hear what your thoughts are on this.
Well, I would say that, in line with what I've been saying for a long time, is that is a tactic indicative of an operation, right? You want to control the information flow and control how the public thinks and feels. And especially if there is an agenda that's above, or, an overarching agenda that they want to accomplish. And what I always say, and what I still believe with this case, I personally now am convinced that a lot of what we are seeing, this trickle of information, is a distraction operation.
Right.
Because think about it, Bertie. And I apologize to the Hive because I know we've talked about this before, but in my opinion, it's important. If you are trying to steer away from something, what would you do? You would keep hammering people with information they're all going to dig into. And what my mind goes to is, what are they trying to distract away from?
I would. So first of all, I agree. I think to go a little bit more granular on that, I would ask you this. Why? So do you believe that I guess I'll just ask it. So are you saying that the documents that are getting released, the time is pre-decided? There is certain documents that they know will drop when, right? So we see like the list that's unsealed. Do you think they're just working down a master list, or do you think that there are things that they know we're not unsealing that until after this gets unsealed, and it's actually in the reverse order, because we know if we reverse it in the order of what it's released in, it's going to confuse people? Like, do you think they'll go to that much planning in this? And if so, or whether you believe it's for this case or not. But if so, how do you get people to understand that it's probably not as difficult to do as it might seem to us?
Well, let me just throw this out there. I'm not saying that this is what's happening in this particular case with the information, but when we want to, let's say, summarize a book or a movie or a documentary or information, right? We use AI, right? If it's something we know about, like say is a book I read 10 years ago, if I want to talk about that, I don't have time to read the whole book again. So I'll get a summary with points and I'll go through them and it refreshes my memory, right? That's consumer level AI. If you have government level AI, like what DARPA, the NSA, and the intelligence agencies have, or any branch of the government, the military, you could basically say, create I don't know what you would say, an agenda based formula for how to release information about this thing that happened, but you want to accomplish this, that, and the other to shape public opinion and whatever. Just I'm spitballing, but you could have it basically broken down and do it in a way that will be conducive to distracting and confusing people, whatever. I mean, I think about all these possibilities. Like, I think we understate sometimes and don't give enough credit to the sophistication that the intelligence agencies have now with technology. And so if there was a bigger operation going on that went up multiple levels, they could structure a whole campaign of information. You could call it a psyop, you could call it propaganda, whatever you wanted, in a way that's extremely sophisticated to deal specifically with how people actually think. And so I don't put anything past these entities. Nothing would surprise me at all.
Yeah, nothing would surprise me at all either. For a thought exercise quickly to finish this question up, though, is there anybody that's tuned in right now? And this is not to roast, shame, or put anybody on blast. I am curious, is there anything or any reason as to why these documents are being released in the manner that they are that would not be, I'll use the word nefarious as a general broad word? Does that make sense, JJ? Is there a way that, or is there anybody that thinks, no, this is actually a good thing they're doing it like this? And if so, what would the argument be for that? And I don't know if you can go there mentally, but, or, kind of think through that. What would you say?
I think, well, it's how different levels you want to look at it. If you want to talk about the true crime community, right? It's good for the true crime community because people like to challenge their brains, right? And formulate ideas based on information that comes out. But if you take the approach that I tend to take and zoom out, my natural inclination is to go, why? Why are they doing it this way? Why have they been redacting so much information? Why have so many videos seemed like they're doctored? And why have all these interviews that we've all listened to over and over? Why do they all seem like it's just a dog and pony show? To me, that's kind of how I look at things.
It's so interesting because all of the footage that was just released to us via Linda Lane, I find it so strange that footage was out so quickly before so many details. And I wonder, is that being monitored, right? So the videos are doctored. People weren't initially looking for videos to be doctored right away in the beginning. Like maybe some people were, but I would say the majority of people were just watching it and consuming it. There's hours of footage from the car park and hours of footage from the dumpster camera. You might notice some things, but you could probably at that point just tell yourself, or people could tell you, that's just a glitch. That's the camera. That's the audio. That's, a crappy make and model. But then you start to wonder, they put that out and now you see how sensitive everything that gets released is, but they apparently released the entire night, the audio, the vehicles, with the exception of like 30 minutes on the dumpster camera. That to me doesn't add up. And it really makes me wonder why that came out first.
Yeah, man, as we've gone down the road with this case, all of us, and people are way more expert at a lot of the information than I am. But at a certain point, I started to think something like looks similar in this case to these other famous cases in which it's pretty clear there were operations involved. And I just can't help but to think, like I said, last time I was in the Hive, I don't believe the most basic fundamental information about the case. I really don't. I think that there. All right, so I know you see things this way, and I know a lot of people here do, but most people don't. The information that's been released, you may not think of it this way when you're looking at it, because we all like to look at it. We all like puzzles, right? We all like puzzles to challenge our brains. But you're looking at this information and not maybe thinking that this is based on what we believe happened, or at least even our own theories about what happened. We'll tie that information to our theories. But if the most basic aspects of the case were not true, then that information is going to take us down a road that's only going to keep us formulating ideas based on the original information, what we were told about the case, right? Because your brain, that's just the way the brain works. It makes an imprint of the information we were told, and it's in the back of our minds. All that information, the 4 students, all the crazy details. So that is still in the back of our minds when we look at any new information. But I would say that if the most basic information is not true, then we're not going to be able to get anything out of the new information that comes out unless we start looking in other directions. Like I always say, pull on different threads.
Well, then that's what we're going to do tonight, because I understand, so we think the exact same way. And I agree. People have to be able to accept and acknowledge what you and I are talking about. And then there's also this ability to apply it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like how you just said, pull on the different threads. There's also the ability to apply it and not just say, we all understand it, this is what they could do. The preconceived notions, the bias that's just pound into your head is this is fact, this is fact, this is true. And then you go look at something. It is a developed, learned skill, in my opinion, to be able to look at it and ignore those things. It's a lot easier said than done too, right? So if you've been told something about a case since the beginning that could just be flat out wrong, the most basic, simple facts, but you're looking at the documents, believe it or not, whether you think it is or isn't, it's most likely affecting your subconscious thought process.
Yeah, that you kind of nailed it right there, the subconscious thought process. I tend to, as I've gotten older, I've learned to trust my instincts more. And I think that as a society, we're taught often not to trust our instincts, right? We're taught to be a good boy and girl and just do what you're told, right, from a very young age. Well, oftentimes doing what you're told does not align with your gut instincts. And so we tend to get it beaten out of us over time to trust our instincts. Now, that doesn't mean your instincts can't be wrong, but I've found that more often than not, your instincts are correct.
Well said. Got to trust your gut. And Hive, everybody take 2 seconds right now. Swipe that on the chat. Hit the like button. Let's get into this evening's Hive Mind Finds. Now, JJ, I don't know if anybody has heard this or seen this. This is news to me as of about an hour ago. Okay. And I'm going to put this full screen because my jaw was on the floor. I don't know if people know this. However, they're about to. And Sea Turtle said, I just found out that Ann Taylor's the chief legal officer for my employer, Minidoka Memorial Hospital in Rupert, Idaho. She's resigning in August. Wonder why. I've been here 3 years and never knew that. Wonder if it has anything to do with the 42-day appeal window. Good afternoon. This morning, I received a notice from Ann Taylor, our chief legal officer, that she is resigning effective August 1st, 2026. We are saddened by her resignation and wish her the best in her future plans. My short time here, and I know Ann is dedicated to this hospital and all of the members of the hospital staff. She will be missed. As plans become more defined, we will share out next steps. Thank you. Okay. So that's very interesting. Ann Taylor will be retiring from chief legal officer in about 3 weeks, August 1, from Minidoka Memorial Hospital out in Rupert, Idaho. Does this have anything to do with the 42-day appeal window? I would say it'd be weirder if it didn't. Would you agree, JJ?
Yeah, I mean, see, this is the kind of stuff you have to look at. You know, this peripheral things often, in my opinion, give you more information than the stuff that's right there in front of your face. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really interesting thing because the timing of it can't be ignored, right?
Why? So does that mean, okay, so this could mean one of two things. I don't know where your thought process is going, but when I look at this, my brain goes to, there's either going to be something massive that happens in this case that she's gearing up for by the September 2nd or September 3rd deadline that Brian has. She needs to get all of her ducks in a row before then. Or this is going to come to an end, an abrupt halt, and there's just different trajectory for Ann Taylor in her career because of this case that come September will be now in motion and in play.
So
You
you
picking
mean
up what
like
I'm putting down?
if there is an appeal?
Well, I'm saying you could look at it both ways. This could mean there's an appeal coming. This could mean that there's not, and it's going to be done with. And Ann Taylor, if there's not, Ann Taylor has bigger and better things to move on
Right.
to now.
Yeah, I mean, or she's about to get another really big case.
True.
That because of her profile with the Idaho 4 case, she might end up taking a private case where she's going to make a pile of money, and she needs to commit her time to that. So yeah, I agree. It could be that as well.
Grammy Tammy just brought up a good point. Good to see you, Grammy Tammy. And thank you for the super chat. Said, what if she's retiring so that she can represent Brian as a private attorney and kick ass and not worry about the repercussions? Are you able to do that? Can you? So if you're a public defender, let me look that up.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, let's see.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know that she'd be disqualified if she retires from as a public defender to defend somebody privately if it's still within a time frame, or I don't know if that would automatically disqualify her.
Let's just see. If you are a public defender to start a case and then your client takes a plea deal, and within the window of appeal, you are still representing them, can you decide to move from a public defender to starting your own private practice to defend your client in the appeal process that way for more legal flexibility and less repercussions. I'm curious to see what that's going to say. What do you think?
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I would not automatically.
So it says generally not automatically, and not just because it gives, quote, more flexibility. A public defender can leave the public office and go private, but continuing to represent the same client on appeal depends on court approval, the client's informed consent, conflict rules, funding and appointment rules, and the lawyer's employment restrictions. The lawyer cannot just switch hats mid-case. If they were appointed as a, where did I just go? If they're appointed as a public defender, authority usually comes from the court / public defender office appointment. To continue privately, they would typically need to formally withdraw / substitute counsel or be reappointed / approved as appellate counsel. And going private does not erase ethical restrictions. The client has to agree and money matters. If the client is indigent, the lawyer usually cannot just convert the representation to private paid appeal without careful disclosure and court oversight. Huh. That's interesting, isn't it?
I wonder if you could ask, what about in Moscow, Idaho, if they might have specific information.
So I'm sure now I type this in and it's going to say, there's no confirmed retirement of Ann Taylor, and I am not allowed to speculate, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying, dude? I can't. That's a good question. While we're waiting, Goodrin from Iceland said, hello from Iceland. I've missed you. Been so sick. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, Goodrin. Thank you so much for the super chat. We missed you as well. It's always great to see our, what would you call Iceland people? It's not Vikings.
Icelandic.
Icelandic. That was Vikings. Nordic, right? Nordic people? Is that what you'd say?
Actually, that's a good question. I don't know if they're Nordic usually. Yeah, I guess the Scandinavian countries, right? Is Iceland considered Scandinavia? That's a good question.
I'm actually not too sure. Okay, so this gave us an answer. It said, yes, in Moscow, Latah, Idaho context, the timing naturally makes people wonder, but based on the public record, the cleaner explanation is the Idaho's public defense system overhaul, not necessarily Coburger plea / appeal window. Ann Taylor was the Kootenai County chief public defender, not the Moscow, Latah County. She was appointed to Coburger, yada, yada, yada. We know all that. The biggest public reason tied to that move is Idaho's statewide public defense transition. Idaho created a state public defender system, opened the office July 1st of 2024, began managing public defense statewide on October 1st, 2024. The Coeur d'Alene Press reported that Taylor left the chief role amid concerns about the new state public defender system, including funding, speed of rollout, and political influence concerns. So, yes, she could continue representing him after leaving the chief public office if the court / appointment structure allows it. And that appears to be what happened. Court filings after she left the county role list her as Ann Taylor Law, PLLC, attorney at law, while still appearing as defense counsel in Coburger filings. It doesn't give her any less repercussions. It's legally possible a Coburger related benefit. By going private, she could keep representing him without being tied to that public defender job, especially during a massive statewide transition. Wow. Okay. Grammy Tabby gets the GOAT award. That's a great point. And holy hell, Corey Boyce, 3725 with a massive super chat said, don't mean to interrupt, just showing support. Own a bar in Houston, Texas. So 7 p.m. is a little hard to be here. but I'm trying. LOL. Definitely will catch up later by watching. Just wish I could give my 2 cents. Maybe I'll just comment on videos. Corey, call in on Fridays. I know it's a little bit tough, but those typically go 3 hours, man. I'll keep an eye out for you backstage. Absolutely. And same thing on Saturdays. If you're a Hive Plus member, I'll drop the link all the time. And wow, man, thank you so much for the big super chat. Thank you for the support. Best of luck with the bar down in Houston. It's no joke owning a business, especially in the restaurant industry. A lot of ups and downs. And thank you again for the support, man. That's awesome. You guys rock. You guys absolutely rock. Dope. Goat. So I wanted to show that. And speaking of people setting some requests in, I have this pulled up and I don't want to forget to do this. So Connor had said, update on Showalter. There was Connor ... H8 got Jack Showalter's disturbing the piece body cam footage from 2024. This is November 3rd. And Ben had said to watch the beginning to the 5-minute mark and then the 10 to 13-minute mark. It's less than 8 minutes total. And it's interesting. So let's check this out, JJ, shall we? Hive, type a 1 in the chat if you're curious to see this. I'm very curious. And Ben, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that big time. So let's get this up and rolling. I've not seen this yet. There's no sound right now. Looks like they're outside of a bar.
Wonder where that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't look at the description. It looks like a different body cam unless they upgraded, which was clearly overdue.
Police. I'm not doing shit. Turn around. Get back. No, turn around. Turn around. I'm not doing shit. Turn around. For what? Get back. For what? Back up. Back up. Get back. Turn around. I'm sorry, bro. East side of City Hall. You need him cuffed up.
I'm sorry. That is such a backhanded chirp when somebody's just got cuffed for fighting and somebody randomly will walk by and just be like, thank you for your service, police officers. Like that's just as you're on the ground face down, that's gotta be the worst. Thank you for your service. You're cuffed. Oh man.
Hey, just go. Okay. We're gonna roll over. Come up to our knees. Yes, sir. Roll over. Just go. Come up to your knees, buddy. Come up to your sitting. Come up, sit. Okay, just go. Good. Can you get my hat? Yep. Where's that? Over there. You're good, dude. Sorry about that. This isn't your hat, is it? You want to get grabbed? Sorry, brother.
That was nice of them to give him his hat.
Standing right next to you, too. Dude, I'm sorry. He's being an asshole. Yeah. I know. He wasn't talking to you, though. He was talking to the bouncer. I know. I'm not arguing with you. I got you. I understand your shit.
So far, JJ, okay, maybe an unpopular opinion because I have my opinions on Showalter too. I don't see anything like super malicious from him given the situation and given him just getting shoved to the ground. He's a little bit shocked, adrenaline up, and then you can tell he's kind of got that thick tongue slur, but he seems to be like respectful enough given the situation. Would you agree or no?
Yeah, I mean, who
So far.
knows what happened before, like what led up to it. Yeah, I was not as well behaved as that when I was young. I'll tell you that much.
You're under arrest for being an asshole.
What's funny though is like there's trolls everywhere. So like
yeah.
you're getting arrested and people are walking by chirping shit at you. I think it's funny. Society has become full of trolls.
That's crazy. Casey Ranch, thanks for being a Hive Plus member for a month. Said, "We love you, Birdie." The way he questioned the cops about the handcuffs reminds me of someone who knows about being arrested, in my opinion. Yeah, I didn't necessarily catch the full comment, but I would not be surprised. I mean, I feel like at this age, maybe getting handcuffed, especially if you're a fighter, it probably happens once to you and you're going to remember it, or 2 or 3 times. Doesn't it seem like there could be a potential history, at least, of being maybe restrained for fighting? That's kind of some reputations that we've heard, or rumors about his reputation that we've heard, especially is that he doesn't necessarily hang around with a lot of people and doesn't mesh too well with the majority of people.
Yeah, and if you're a wild young person, even if you don't get arrested a lot, you're around it a fair amount, so you kind of, with your friends and whatnot, you get into some wacky shit. So you tend to brush up against the po-po.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I haven't seen this yet, so I'm reacting. I'm seeing your guys' comments, which I'm sure there's about to be a massive plot twist here. So I will keep my eyes peeled.
Damn, you guys are on your shit. Yeah, that was stupid. That was stupid. I'm sorry. Do you have any ID or anything on you? Yes, sir. Okay. You want him in your car, Alex? Yeah. Which one's yours? Right here. The whole stuff. Yep. You guys are on shit. I'm sorry about that, brother. You're good. Spread your legs for me. Yes, sir. I do have a knife in my back pocket. I got you. Spread your feet out. Yes, sir. Anything on you that's going to stab me, poke me, cut me? Just that knife in my back pocket. Okay. You guys are on your shit tonight. You understand you're under arrest for fighting in public? Yes, sir. Okay. Disturbing the peace. Ha! I got one. Sorry about this, guys. That's stupid. Is that where your ID is at? In the wallet. Okay. It's already unlocked. Oh, okay. I have a charger too, man. Watch out. All right, you want to have you take a seat? I want you to watch your head. Watch your head. Can I have cuffs in front at least? No, we can't do cuffs in front of you. For what reason? We're right next to BD. Yeah, that's our policy. Is goes cuffs to the rear. Oh my god! When I shut the door, if you want to turn your back towards that door or this one, that way you're not sitting on that. I'm totally fine. That way you're not sitting on the cuffs. On the wallet? Yeah, it's right. Just looking for it. You want to transport? Yeah, we probably will. So, watch this dude pushed him right over the edge. Yeah. And then he just starts swinging on him. So. You just e-sight. You have e-sight, right? Yeah. It's e-sight. You just print out 2 copies to go to the jail. All right. You send 2 copies to the jail. Yes. What do you want? Yeah. Well, you got marijuana.
Okay, so now watch at 10:30, Birdie. Okay, let me get there to 10:30. Thank you, Ben, for being super detailed with the timestamps. That's very helpful. I have one quick comment. Could just be where I went to college. I don't think. Look, I understand this is Jack Showalter, so I don't want people saying that oh my God, they doesn't think it's a big deal. Like, I get it. It's 2 years later. It's Jack Showalter. However, I might be the outlier in this. I don't think it's unusual for somebody to have a pocket knife or a knife on them if they're out at night. I don't. I feel like where I went to school, people would be wearing knives on their belt a lot. You know, I feel in Midwest and Boise, I could see a lot of similarities with just the culture. And so
Boise's totally different though.
that didn't, but that didn't surprise me that somebody would have it. Now I know it's him.
Yeah,
I
right.
get it. So I'm addressing that. However, in general, I mean, I know people are like, what? And I'm telling you, it was not unusual at all when I went to college that people would have them on them all the time.
Well, when I've been to Boise twice, and it's weird. It's not like anything like the rest of Idaho. It's well, at least maybe the people who grew up there and their families from there, it's probably a little bit different. But Boise is like become like this very progressive, like hip kind of city. And it's weird when you go from Boise to like Moscow and like Coeur d'Alene and some other, especially the more remote parts, because it's far, you know, from Boise to Moscow, and you got to drive through some middle of nowhere places. It's a trip.
Yeah. So again, that's just a general comment. You know, I get it. It's Jack Showalter. It's 2 years later. He's out downtown. I just, if Jack Showalter was never involved in this case and we were watching this body cam, I'd look at it and I would not have even thought twice about a pocket knife in the back pocket.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I just know what I've heard about him throughout this case. And I've known a lot of dudes when I was young that they were from kind of wealthy families, and they had a sense of entitlement about them. It's fairly common. We've all seen people like that are like troublemaker dudes that are always getting into shit because they know they're going to get bailed out. You know, like when I was a kid, you know, I'm one of 8 kids. Like we grew up, if like I had to cause my father to come to the police station to get me, I would be done for. So like you would be real careful about being caught or arrested when I grew up.
Right. Real Nancy Drew said agreed, Birdie. And to be honest, I would not have thought of him as a killer, allegedly. Yeah. I mean, again, you take this case out of it. That's really the whole point I was trying to make is you guys get my point. The overarching, if I was just watching this and it wasn't Jack Showalter, I would not have thought twice about
I agree.
that interaction.
I totally agree with you. I didn't think anything of it really. He's just a dude, probably drunk, you know, talking shit at a bar, and he's in Idaho. He's got a knife in his pocket. That's not a big deal to me, but in context, I could see where it would raise a few eyebrows.
For sure. It also depends on what you're doing with it while you're out. I mean, if you're flashing it, like that's a different story versus it's just in your pocket. So, all right, this is the next timestamp, 10:30. And let's go ahead and watch this again. Shout out to Ben Fold. Thank you again for the super chat and the timestamps, brother. So we did skip 5 minutes ahead, just so people know.
Your incident has been updated. 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 Your incident has been updated.
Hey, John, what's a good phone number for you? What's that? Okay. Well, it's part of the report, man.
You have my phone number.
I don't have your phone number.
Shit, you guys do.
No, I don't. How would I have your phone number, man?
My phone number.
It goes in a report in case the prosecutors need to get in touch with you.
Be hard on you guys.
Well, I mean, dude. Yeah, I got it, but that was a simple question, man. Okay. All right, we're gonna get you out of there, okay? You need this? I got to arrest this property. No, disturbing the peace. 186409. This is a phone number for. That's his property. Hey, dude. You ready?
Just in case I see you again.
That's the other ones. I've already searched them, but yeah, whatever you guys need. Appreciate it. Just yeah. If you come back down here, then I'll grab them from you. If not,
Yeah,
I'll put these in your like locker.
Are they fighting?
Yeah. Dude was standing outside of Roddy's that just got kicked out, and I don't know if these guys were part of it, but he was just yelling at the guy was yelling at the bouncer, and then he walked past him and just shoved the dude over the railing. And the dude gets up and they start wailing on each other.
Oh,
So,
okay. Who took the other guy?
the Salo.
Is this the actual incident now? Must be Halloween.
Or it's just Boise.
Back up.
It's okay.
Hey, let's go. East side of City Hall. You need him cuffed up, Sarge? You good?
36 text 7. We're out at the flight for the Roddies. We're code 4. It's going to be 2 in custody at this time.
Okay. What we're gonna do next is just take them over there. We'll figure out what happened. You want? Yes, sir.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, Ben, again. Look, I got a couple of comments about this, and you guys heard my opinion on the knife. I mean, I feel like this behavior is rather normal in almost every downtown, probably every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night for these cops. When I hear Jack Showalter kind of give a little bit of the attitude of, you have my number, don't you? I think it's one of two things. The whole, I don't answer questions. He's drunk and he's trying to be funny. Watch too many YouTube videos about knowing your rights. The whole, like, am I being detained? It's very typical, as Blue Eyed Candy just said. However, the number thing, there was a handful of people that typed this into the comments right as I was thinking it. And that is, I don't know if it'd be unusual for him to think, well, yeah, you guys have my number. I was just on the world news for how long in regards to the Idaho 4 case. You'd think that I'm in your system, right? I was fingerprinted for a quadruple homicide. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, also, if he's, I think he is from Boise, right? So he's probably gotten into trouble plenty of times, is my guess.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt that. But again, I would just say this. If it wasn't Jack Showalter, would anybody look at that as anything crazy? And I'm not trying to defend him. I'm saying it's a completely separate thing. Now, does it mean 2 years later if he's got a pocket knife and he gets into a fight with two of his buddies and two girls that do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's very interesting, but I don't know if this is incriminating in any way. It just shows a pattern of maybe exactly what we've heard. I could for sure see that takeaway, right? Like, this is a pattern clearly.
Yeah, I agree. Well, look, I tend to agree in the sense that when I was young, I mean, he's a college, he's, maybe he graduated, but by this point, but if you're in a frat and you're a wild dude or whatever, who gets into scraps here and there, gets drunk, which is a lot of the case with like frat people and whatnot. They get drunk and they get emboldened because they're with their boys and they get into fights. I mean, it happens a lot in that environment. This is like, for me personally, I played sports in college. You did too, Birdie. And when you go out with your teammates, like, that was very tame what we just saw there, like in compared to stuff when I was young that I got into with my teammates. Like, that was really, in my opinion, that was really tame. And I wouldn't really think too much about the knife thing, because he did say, I have a knife in my back pocket. He was upfront about it.
Yeah, he was upfront about it. And I think, like, to what Ben just said is it proves he's violent. Even further, what about the blood in his apartment? So I don't disagree. It does prove a pattern. However, it could also prove the pattern that he's getting into scuffles, and that blood could be unrelated to anything that happened that night because of a previous scuffle, right? If this is a pattern, you're going to say that he's violent and he's getting into fights. One could maybe argue, actually, not even maybe, you could argue that this is something that he regularly does. And so for blood to be from an elbow, a nose, or a different cut throughout a different night out, right?
Yeah, no, I that's a good point. I mean, and shit gets crazy at colleges, man, especially on like a football game weekend. Like, there's a lot of shit that goes down because people go hard on those weekends. They typically look at those weekends like a bigger deal.
For sure. And what about, so this is my opinion. When I see that, I'm like, all right, you got a guy who was looked into. I don't think anybody's going to doubt that he was not looked into. Now, you could say there's a rich family member, there's a connection. Look at me. My father was a Harvard man, right?
Yeah.
I understand all that. So I don't want people thinking that part's going over my head. But to have yourself looked into, to have blood in your apartment, which does turn out to be your own, to go through the hoodie guy, to then be arrested with a knife, have your phone number ran, and to just get ticketed like everybody else and let go on the streets. To me, that tells me he didn't do it. Like, he's not involved. Like, does that make sense? Like, I don't think that you could just have this good luck all this time, especially a quadruple homicide all the way down to a scuffle outside of a bar. If he was on any sort of probation, if he was on any sort of, I guess, just being reprimanded from the Idaho 4, I don't think he's getting booked and processed like everybody else would.
Yeah. And, one of the things I keep going back to is they talked about certain people being cleared really early on. Remember when they had that press conference, the guy in the hoodie, right? They pretty early on, they cleared him. To me, that still is indicative of they knew what happened earlier than certainly than when Koberger was arrested. They knew what happened. And that is, in my opinion, why all the interviews were like a dog and pony show, why Showalter was cleared quickly, why Jack DeCore was cleared quickly, why the surviving roommates were basically ignored. I think they knew what happened. And they, again, I won't get into all that now, but so to the point of Jack Showalter, it's like, I never thought after like finding out more about him and whatnot. Just because some dude's a troublemaker doesn't mean they're a killer.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. And I saw Bedfold, I saw you say, watch the last 5 minutes of Shadow Ghost's video. I want to get through some of these documents, and then at the end, we can absolutely do that. To me, I'm looking at this. We've tried to connect all of these dots. And when I say we, I mean, guys, we have streamed every night. We've flipped over every stone. I understand that the investigation sucks, but if the investigation sucks and now we're seeing the documents and we are seeing the results of what the blood is, we are seeing who was quote unquote talked to. I am understanding, just to make this crystal clear, of powerful parrots. But at the level of which people would just have to blatantly get away with this on top of a bad investigation and then continued behavior of that same way, I think it's unrealistic. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that there wasn't sketchiness. It doesn't mean that, like, if he was not in the hoodie that night, it just, there's so many things that I'm just like, now looking back at it, the things that they let people run with for so long, it goes back to what you said, JJ, initially, of what is put into our head and is a basic fact that's just wrong. How much do we run with it down the road just because it was the first thing that we heard? And I saw Kiss Me Where I Pee said, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, well, then it's an effing duck. But I don't know. I don't know, I guess, how this body cam makes him look guilty for 2 years later, whether he's wearing the same clothes or not the same clothes, whether, you know what I mean?
It is interesting, or, to kind of see what's happening with certain people, right, in their everyday life. There's only one thing that would make me shift my ideas about the peripheral people. If I found out that their families were big donors to the university, that would change my view significantly, because big money, a lot of shit gets overlooked for big money.
True. Right. And again, I understand that. But I also truly believe that there's only, like, unless you're way up there in money and wealth and connections, like, you have to have the trifecta of power, network, and wealth, until money can only buy you so much freedom. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And again, take that, what you just said, and then factor in that shit looks shady with this case. Plain and simple. It
does look shady.
We've been lied to.
We've been lied to, guys. We know that. And I understand donors to the university. I understand that his family is wealthy, right? And I get it. But we're looking at something that has gone outside of the walls of Idaho on a massive level. And like I said, one of the things that gives that away to me is the FBI won't release certain things about this case. You can't FOIA it. That's a huge giveaway to it.
Yeah.
And again, this is just my opinion. That's something that I feel strongly about, is like, there is money and power connections, but this doesn't seem to necessarily even be necessarily needed. Or do I believe at this point, given what we've seen and all of the things that the court's doing, that I don't know if somebody could pay for all of the judges and all of those court proceedings and the change of venue to get Brian Koberger in the position for Jack Showalter.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. When we've talked about this stuff, right? Whenever I've discussed this case with you, and you and I have had some offline discussions, pretty crazy ones, right? Which we're on here, we're talking, you can't go through everything that we think, right? It would be impossible. The stream would be bogged down. Like, we couldn't do it. I would love for one time in the future, and you've got some diligent people in the Hive, for you and I, and we put our heads together and we come up with a list of all the reasons why we believe there was an operation involved, a higher level operation. There were psyops involved, that this was much wider reaching and goes up much higher than just a murder, a quadruple homicide case. Because if I were to take the time to list all of those things and you were to do the same thing, we cross referenced all of our stuff, I think people would look at that and go, yeah, it's so obvious that there's some kind of bigger operation involved with this case.
Right. Look, I could say until I'm blue in the face, guys. I'm understanding of it. I'm just personally, I don't believe that his parents being surgeons or his brother being a surgeon, both parents doctors, like, I don't think that affects this because it's so much bigger. How do you explain the media being in sync? How do you explain the FBI? How do you explain nobody talking? How do you explain Ann Taylor's? I mean, to me, it seems like it would cost such a pretty penny, so much wealth, and also just so risky for anybody that would just so happen to take a bribe if the Showalter family offered them one, again, allegedly, because of the University of Idaho. After it was his own blood in his apartment, he's had a history of being violent and not liked before the crimes. Yes, the night of the crimes, he's sketchy, but then we just watched this even 2 years later. Has his behavior changed? He's inserting himself into things for no good reason. He's just walking in out of the blue doing it. And
he's an entitled kid. He's an entitled kid, and he's used to getting his way. He's probably not going to have to worry about paying the fines or whatever for legal shit. So kids like that get emboldened. It's just the way it works, man. I've encountered those kids growing up plenty of times in my life.
Right. And I 100% think there's an entitlement factor and an attitude. I agree with all of it. I just don't think that it's the end all be all. That's why he's getting away with 4 murders.
I'm kind of with you on that, man. I've kind of felt that way for quite a while. Like the level of coordination in this case and what seems to be orchestration does not align with it's just some kid from a rich family. I don't see that there being that much coordination and psyops and propaganda and the mainstream media all in lockstep because a kid came from a rich family. And yes, in a regular small town case, that could be a factor for sure. But something like this, I don't think so.
So I've seen Dawn just said this. I've seen other people say this, but they threw out the charges. Look, I'll just say it, not proud of it. I've been thrown in the drunk tank. That's how what year was that? 2019 started right after New Year's. Within 10 minutes, I'm in the back of a cop car because somebody had like stiff armed this girl I was dating in the face. And I just felt like it's like, I'm kind of damned if I do, damned if I don't, right? It's like, if I don't do something, I look like a bitch. And if I do, I already know what's going to happen. So, but I got those dismissed. So it's like, it happens. And all I did was show up, and that, like, it wasn't hard to get it dismissed for a disorderly.
Yeah. And
the only time in my life, by the way.
Yeah. Like when I was young, I hung out with some guys that were troublemakers. Like real troublemakers, the kind that different than me. Like I was no angel, but some of the guys on my wrestling team were jailbirds. They were scary. And every time we went out, somebody had to do is if a frat guy looked at one of them crooked, they caged the bird.
I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly. Oh, yeah. It was. Sorry, JJ. I totally was laughing at that. I missed what you said.
It's pretty funny. I mean, look, man, Birdie, everybody knows you. You're a fun-loving, friendly guy. It's breaking their heart right now to find out the Birdman was in the drunk tank.
Dude, I was just like so bummed out, dude. And then the worst part is that like nobody, I don't even know how this happened, but like nobody showed up for like 2.5, 3 hours to come get me either, dude. Like, oh, it was just rough.
I've dodged a lot of bullets, I will say that. Like where I like got out of a situation just in the nick of time when shit got really squirrely. And but like that kind of stuff, if like a melee breaks out, you got to get out of there because then everybody's fighting and you don't know who's who and you could get killed because that's when people start throwing chairs and slapping
Yeah.
bottles over people's heads and shit.
Dude, I don't even honk at people on the road anymore downtown. Like I really don't. It's not worth it. Somebody just said jailbirdie. Oh, all
Yeah.
right. That's funny. Go ahead, JJ.
No, I was just gonna say in this day and age, there's people are on the edge more than ever in history. So, that stuff can get out of control pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, and like you said, like that's how people. There are so many just batshit crazy people, dude. Like I even have buddies that I played football with in college that I would be like, "Goodbye Wednesday." Said, "Here's to the belated bailout. Love you, Birdie." Oh, I actually.
At least you got out.
Oh God, I have the body cam too.
Oh, dude, you got to play that on here one night.
It's
That'd be great.
it's such a stupid thing.
Yeah, I mean, when I I don't get into trouble anymore or anything like that. Like when I know I'm older and I don't party really hard or anything like that. But when I was young, dude, I was a handful, man. And you get into the stupidest shit sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I Kiss Me Where IP said for Birdie's Bond. That's funny. Okay. So I told you kind of how it started, but if I ever show the body cam, I want to preface this. Okay. And I don't know if I'm going to. I have to really think long and hard about this if I'm going to show that. So
man, I would love it.
Dude, I was arrested by like 3 female officers and this one like giant Hulk officer. And I was not cussing, but I was like trying to reason with these girls about like, wouldn't you want your man to stick up for you if that was you and you just got punched in the face? Because the girl I was with was like yelling inside the bar for our friend to come, and some guy was like waiting in line. It's cold out, and it was a total dick thing. What he did, he like open hand like shoved her head back. It was like, shut up. Like it was crazy. Like her nose was bleeding and stuff. So yeah, it was whatever. But the cops are like right in the middle of the road. So like they saw it immediately. It lasted like maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds. Just get as many in as you can. And then I was like reasoning with them, like trying to plead my case. Probably just, if I listened to it, slurring the words again. It was having a great night. But we started walking away because we weren't going to get arrested initially. We started walking away and I caused this. So somebody had said it's like there's one road, a median, and then another road. And the cops sit with horses on the median. Okay. And we were walking, we're walking across, we're past the median. And I hear somebody yell, "Yeah, just keep walking." Okay. So I'm like, my adrenaline's up, whatnot. And I look over my shoulder and I say, "Or what?" Dude, it was the Hulk cop that I said.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
geez.
Well, the Hulk cop doesn't know who yelled it. And I'm with my buddy Mitch. Okay, so it was 4 of us. It was me, Mitch, and the 2 girls we were with. And the Hulk guy starts like trotting over to us. He's like younger. He's like 24. He's fully locked into like this is his environment. And he 2-hand, like I think of like a lev sled in football. He just doosh, and my buddy Mitch goes flying over the snowbank.
Oh man.
And I, like an idiot, grabbed his body cam and I was like, "Oh, that's gonna look real good on fucking camera." And that's how the body cam footage of me actually starts.
Oh, that's great.
So
That's classic.
yeah, and then you hear my buddy Mitch from behind the snowbank go, "Oh, these are my good pants. What the hell?"
See, when I was like young, the stupid shit that I did, they didn't have body cams. So
Yeah.
like, I'll tell you it's really quick, funny story. I won't take up too much time with it, but I was lifeguarding. I've told you that. I was a lifeguard at the beach for 4 summers, and I was 20 years old. And there was a huge bar in town where I lifeguarded that everybody in all, probably in the tri-state area, knows of. It was famous bar, huge place. And you know, if you are a lifeguard and you know people, yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with that.
I'll show you it, JJ, first. You can help me make the decision. So, anyways,
Yeah.
you're a lifeguard though, so you're
So
working right now.
long story short, so I lived that summer. I lived in a boarding house, right? Which, you know, big old school boarding house, and I'm in the bar, and you know, I'm underage, but I'm a lifeguard. They all know you and stuff. That they don't even card you. This is way back in the day. So as I'm walking out, I see my neighbor that lives across the street from me, this cute girl that I had a crush on. She's walking out of the bar, and she's a little older. So I rode my bicycle there. It was like chained up to a tree. So I'm leaving, walking with her, and I grab my bicycle. And as we're walking out, some dude and his friends, like a group of guys, is all rowdy running out, and he grabs her. And he's like, starts swinging her around, just like random out of the blue. You know, I'm standing there. So I said something to the guy. And
Hey, don't do that.
I don't know. It probably wasn't that nice, but so then he squares off with me. And I was not trying to start a fight with him. I was just like, you know, he's acting like an idiot. So he tries to square off, and he's with his whole group of friends. And it's just me holding my bicycle with this girl. So I was just like, should I do it? Should I throw down with this guy? Because I'm probably going to get jumped. This should be funny. Yeah, they want to see your video, Birdie.
But no, I'm listening. So you're holding, I'm laughing at you. So I can picture you. Did you have long hair?
No, I didn't have long hair.
Oh, okay.
No, I had quite a glorious head of hair back then, though. I'm bald now, but so I'm not stupid. If I would have been jumped by a group of guys for sure. There's no question about it. Just as I'm like holding the bike, debating what I should do, one of my lifeguard buddies comes walking over. He's a big jacked dude. And I go, hold this. And I just hand him the bike and I just start teeing off on this kid. He starts running. And the other guys saw my friend, and he's a pretty big dude, like, intimidating looking guy. So they weren't going to jump in. He starts sprinting down the road. So now I'm chasing after this guy. And we're like fighting in the middle of the street. He was begging me to stop. But I'm like,
Jesus.
You already started it, dude. Like, so this is
you've earned these.
Yeah. I mean, he was saying embarrassing things to me in front of all his friends. I'll kick your ass, so-and-so and all this shit. So this town was on the borderline of 2 towns, or where this bar was. It was right on the border of 2 parts of the town. North, it was like the beach side and then the south side, it was called. The beach is a separate town. And the other side of town, they don't like the Belmar lifeguards. That was the town that I lifeguarded in. They don't like you because they don't have the beach. So they don't get the beach revenue. So 2 cop cars pull up, one from the south side and one from the beach side. And literally, like, we're in the middle of the road, and a guy comes from the beach side, big cop comes walking over, and he turns out he was a lifeguard. I knew the guy. And he got to me before the other guy got to me. And there was a crowd of people standing around, and he's like, what's going on? And I told him what happened. And like, there was like 6 people standing right there that said, yeah, that other guy totally started the fight. So he lets me go. He just goes, get out of here. Like, this is old school, you know, like he just was like, all right, get out of here. Meanwhile, I was underage in the bar. I would have been in trouble for being in the bar, number one, and then who knows what else. So I leave, and then like a week later, I run into that cop. I see him at the beach, and he says, the one who let me go. And he's like, dude, you got me in so much trouble. I'm like, what happened? He's like, that kid's mother was a councilwoman. And he's like, I got so much shit for that, because what happened was he went into the bar and identified that kid who was underage in the bar. Right. So not only did the kid get in trouble for fighting, he got a ticket for underage, you know, being in the bar underage. And that guy just let me go. So I like had to buy that guy, you know, a couple of cases of beer, you know. That's
underage. Were you still underage at that point? You buy the guy beer?
Yeah, well, you get one of your buddies to go into the liquor store or whatever and get you beers, you know. I lived with like 6 other lifeguards. But that was like how shit went down back then. It was like, if somebody knew you, and like, you know, I wasn't like a big troublemaker or anything like that, but it was, the whole situation was hilarious. The kid's running away going, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. It's like the little brother getting chased by an older brother.
Yeah, it was funny, man. But I dodged. That was one of the bullets that I dodged.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of scary. Yeah, Philly Girl said, what happened to the bike?
Oh, I rode home as quick as I could, man, because I didn't.
But you said hold the bike to your buddy.
Oh no, he waited for me, and then he gave me the bike back, and I left.
Somebody said David Hasselhoff.
Yeah,
that's funny. There's like a gang war between lifeguards, huh?
Yeah, you know, it's usually you would get into trouble and stuff, and a lot of times you would still get in trouble even if you were a lifeguard, like, because they don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. But in this one particular case, the one of the 2 cops that walked up to the scene, the guy was there like 3 seconds earlier, happened to be from the town that I was a lifeguard in, so he let me go.
Oh man, yeah, you got lucky. I could tell funny stories like this and talk with you about this for forever. I do want to get to this, the blood on the chips, because I thought this was very interesting. Now, the new doc drop contained this. And so we've all seen these like kettle chips, right? There's apparently blood on them, which I find to be very interesting. Have you heard that before? That was new to me today when I heard that. Did you know that? Did anybody
I didn't hear
know
that specifically.
So when, again, it could be, it just seems like why nobody asked about that is kind of really what I was thinking. Is the reason why I wanted to break this down tonight is because I don't really know how to look at this. And my thought process for the discussion was, is this close enough to the beer pong table where whatever was on the beer pong table and the wall, it could have landed on? Or my mind also went to Bethany saying she's eating chips at one point in the night, watching Baby Daddy. I've always found it strange that there's chips on the couch. Bethany says she's eating chips. She thinks Ethan's walking around in the kitchen. Apparently, Xana's up in the kitchen. Kaylee's running up and down the stairs. There's so much movement going on in this house. Why are we to think that Bethany was also not moving and Bethany was just downstairs eating chips, watching Baby Daddy, and doesn't remember what part of the episode, doesn't remember the episode, right? So to me, and then has a toothache also. So did the chips cause that? But in my mind, it's just another additional clue, actually not even a clue, fact that something happened in the living room. This started in the living room. Yeah, somebody said, can you make it bigger? Yeah. I can zoom in on this too. What are your thoughts on the living room in general, JJ?
Oh man. What are my thoughts? My thoughts have changed a lot over the last several months about this case. I'm starting to feel, well, I'll tell you what I did think. I thought that for some reason there were more people in the house at the time when shit went down. And that's part of the reason for there being, things being put here and put there and moved, like the White Claw thing and things being moved. I just have always had a gut feeling that there were more people than we've been told at that house. So the living room would be the logical place where people would be hanging out if there were a bunch of people, people are still hanging out. I mean, it's a party house. So, if people are hanging, then typically you'd hang out in like the living area. And it just seems like they've kind of tried to stray away from the living room discussion. Doesn't it seem like that a little bit?
Oh, they not even seem, they for sure have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
so go ahead. Sorry.
so I just wonder why. I wonder why. Because like I always say, like when you show, for example, you show this picture, this is something that you would think would be something, a pretty big point of discussion. Anything with blood on it, right, would be a pretty big point of discussion in this type of a case. So I keep asking, why are they steering away from so much? Because if you're making a good faith effort in any investigation and you're telling the truth, you don't have to cover shit up. You don't have to obscure things. You don't have to steer away from things and towards other things like a timeline. So that has kind of been my overarching opinion about this case as we've gone years down the road with it. It's like, if you're telling the truth and there was a good faith investigation done, you don't need to try to obscure and redact. You don't need to do all that.
No, but they do. And I think, again, one of the biggest reasons they're avoiding the living room is because I think they needed this. Excuse me. They needed this case to start with the first event being the murders. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't get away from thinking that we were told a total lie about the most basic elements of the case. So when I think about that, it's hard for me to look at smaller bits of information without my brain automatically going to, is this even relevant? Because if we're just being distracted by these little drops of information over time, there has to be a reason for it, right?
Well, there has to be a reason for it, but what that reason is can vary so significantly.
What do you think it is, Birdie? What do you think for all the obfuscation of information and steering towards a certain narrative and away from other narratives?
If I had to, because we've gone through so many theories and I've listened to so many theories, right? And I love I'll continue to listen to them because my mind can be changed. When I think of the motive for the cover up, it's because this crime, if investigated properly, would have exposed a different investigation. Like, I'm really big on the motive being for things being the way that they are because of a parallel investigation going on. I don't even know if that necessarily means the drug ring. It could be, I just think that there was some way, somehow, that these kids or somebody that's close with these kids got involved in that crime or was peripherally connected to that crime that they couldn't have people knowing about, because if that one person got exposed, it would bring down something else massive. And that something else that's massive, I believe, does have a multitude of strings to pull for what we've seen in the media, the power, the self-preservation of these universities. To me, that's why I think it is, and that's why I think there's so much fluff. There's just so much stuff that we forget sometimes how unreasonable this seems. That while yes, it was 30 days that it took to arrest Brian Koberger, there's certainly a lot of people that they looked into that Brian Koberger, for having no connection to any of them and for having really no motive in picking them at random, they certainly have a plethora of documents to drop and for us to look into. Now, while yes, it's widely accepted that we don't believe the story, it still doesn't explain taking the time to get all of this, right? Like whether it leads to anything or not, they are taking up resources to get to this point today and what we've seen play out over the previous months, which is to release this, I would guess, to have us in the exact position we are now. Combing through it all, trying to find some connection.
What if, I mean, this is just a crazy thought. What if, because there were national security implications and there were bigger operations, what if all the documents we've been seeing were AI generated?
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, who knows?
Like just the would that surprise anybody if this was like part of all of this was to test technology, right? Because I always think about all the other fuckery that's going on in the world right now on so many levels. So I often wonder, like, what if, I'll give the conservative angle. All right, so this crime went down, but it was related to an operation. There were things already happening. We've all talked about that. And they were utilizing new technologies, and they want to foist it onto the public to see how well it works with propaganda and psyops to utilize this technology on the public. I mean,
well,
what
I
if,
have a poll in the chat. Do you believe that any of these documents were created with AI? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Sorry, finish that point, JJ.
Yeah, no, sorry. I can't help but think that there are nefarious agendas that have been at play for a while. Because remember, we only find out about things a long time after the so-called power structure, the matrix, however you want to call it, decides to start using those things, right? They're probably, everything that we hear about all these tech oligarchs are working on, they've already been working on this shit.
Well, and I think too, JJ, like I agree with that point, like in general. But what I think is becoming rather clear is that, okay, I hope that I say this clearly because I don't want somebody to misinterpret this. Let's say the crime was real, but the entire story about it is fake. And I'm talking, even if the documents aren't created with AI, I'm saying, going back to my point and why I kind of said the motive for it is, why take all of that time to go and get these real documents and get people's real phones and take the time to interview people just to interview them like shit? And it's because they're going to create a fake story completely through and through of what happened potentially. And so I believe that there is a crime to solve in these documents. However, the crime that we're chasing down, solving in the documents, I don't think is going to be what happened. Like that is something that I feel like with all of these text messages, all of the video, all of the audio, all of these interviews, people are FOIA requesting body cam from God knows what, all of the peripheral players that we've seen. We've seen the court proceedings play out. Guys, this case should not be that complicated. It is one house on a street surrounded by college kids that we have an angle of a camera that looks down Linda Lane by the dumpster camera. We have an angle at the car park, and we have an angle at the front of the house. We have cops on the body cam. We have footage of them at the grub truck, footage of them at the corner club. This is not an impossible crime to solve, even statistically or with what we're seeing, unless the footage is completely manipulated. And then it's like, well, why manipulate the entire night? Like, why not just manipulate the one part of the crime that you say happened within 20 minutes, 12 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever timeline you want to go off of? Why not just manipulate that part? No, because they can't do that, because they need this to look like a normal night that had something quickly happen. And so if you're going to make this look like a normal night, you are creating a fake story around the actual crime. And it's kind of shitty for me to say, because I could be wrong. It's just my opinion, and I'm going off my instinct. So I don't mean to offend anybody when I say this, because it doesn't mean that the crime or the nature of people dying is fake. But it's obvious at this point that what we've been told and now what we've been shown doesn't even seem to have happened. Because if it did, we would be able to point out an actual series of events. Because, like it or not, I think the reality is, even if you break down the timelines, you can poke holes in it. We have like this community, TikTok, X, YouTube, whatever other platforms, Facebook, people have poked holes in it and caught so much stuff in the documents, why this is wrong, where that doesn't make sense. And guys, we're not these crazy rocket scientists either. It's simple things. It's fog lamps. It's blood in the living room. It's blood on the stairwell. It's the sketchy connections of Molly and the DoorDash driver and how it doesn't make sense when it was ordered. So I don't know how, given even what we've seen now, that we're going to ever see a real story. Like, how would these documents, given even the vast amount of what we've seen, even if there's some that we haven't seen, like you guys saw how incredible Accomplished Day's timeline is. What do you fit into that timeline that would just be being withheld? Do you know what I'm saying, JJ? Sorry for ranting, but it's just like, what could you even squeeze in based off of cross-referenced interviews, cross-referenced documents, and it's like the whole night is filled. And even if there's other people that they haven't talked to, every single victim and every single person that's been close to them throughout the night has seemed to been in contact with them and given them their location. Do you know what I mean? I hope that makes sense.
Well, the information is something that's frequently used against people, right? They use it to confuse, to distract, misdirect.
I don't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but I want to actually hear your thoughts on, like, where in this timeline, even if it's documents they haven't shown us, like what would it take for something that's being withheld to change all of the info that we have now? Like, do you think that it's possible, is what I meant?
Well, I would say because the timeline and the specific information is related to the crime that we were told happened, right? Because that's still, like what I was saying before, that's still where our brains are sort of trying to piece things together. Like what happened during this time? Where was Ethan and Xana? All these different little parts of this timeline throughout the whole night into the next morning. And if what actually happened was not what they said happened, then all that other stuff, you could still fill in the times when this person was here, what this person saw, like the interviews, right? Oh, we were at the Sigma Chi and then we went to the Whites, or we went to Linda Lane, or whatever. Those things, they could still have all that information of the people peripheral to the case, right? Since nobody that was interviewed provided any substantive information that led to an arrest, right? Nobody in any of those interviews mentioned a dark curly haired tall guy, weird guy that they ever saw, right? Nobody mentioned anything about a suspicious guy, and we saw him like near where our friends were, and he was in this car, right? I don't remember hearing anything like that. So to piggyback off what you just said, all of that information, that whole timeline, all those interviews, nothing was ever significant to Brian Koberger.
And that's what I'm saying, is to add insult to injury is not only does it not point to what happened, it doesn't even point to the guy that's behind bars that's not saying a word that and it's just, there's certain things too that we've been told, like they were killed in their sleep. They were killed in their sleep. It's like the same thing, I think, when it comes to the court proceedings at a certain point where it's like his family was threatened, or he had to because the jury was tainted, or it's because he wasn't going to get a fair trial. While yes, all of that I could see as being reasonable, and I might even tend to agree with it. It all happening in a sequential order of events seems ridiculous.
And again, I'm biased because my theory hasn't changed. So none of the information that we've seen, like I would actually be kind of psyched if I saw some information that came out and was like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
And it made me think of a different theory. Like Mowich was close. Like that whole thing with Mowich definitely made me start rethinking some shit about the whole thing. My theory is still the same. There was something multi-level operation type shit going on in that area. And Koberger was peripherally connected to it. And he was basically like brought in as a witting patsy.
Right.
So it's hard for me to stray from that because I haven't seen anything that's conclusive, like given me anything that really changed my mind.
Yeah, man. It's I don't even know what it is that we're looking for anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like there's so much stuff out. Like what are we even looking for in these documents to connect? Like in this doc drop, we need to be looking for this piece of information, because if we find this piece of information, that's going to connect everything. No, rather what we end up doing, and it's like the stuff that we're given in the batches and their tactic is just, there's blood on potato chips. Oh my God. Like it's still crazy because it adds into the whole, there's blood in the living room.
Yeah.
There's untested male DNA in the living room. And if anything, it just adds on to that weirdness, but it doesn't shed light to any conclusion.
Well, all right. I'm going to call back to what you asked me before. You asked me about the living room, right? One of the things that comes to mind now that I've had a few minutes to let that sink in is, what were we told about Ethan? He was killed in his bed, right? He never left his bed, right? That's what we were told. He had the white socks on. He never left his bed. What if the whole thing we were told was completely different than what really happened, and they had to, for whatever the reasons were, why was Fry and Payne there for 4 hours, like with the house on lockdown? You know, like why? Could it be that something went down that the school would not want to get out? Some other people were there that they didn't want to be brought to light. And so they had to come up with a theory that would shift away from what really happened, in which case maybe something happened with people that were involved, that were victims. Sorry, I keep hitting my microphone's bouncing around. And they could not let that get out. And then once you start covering one thing up, dude, you got to keep going with it and keep covering, because you can't come out and say, all right, everybody, we lied to you about the most basic aspects of the case. We're sorry.
I think that you're spot on, but I think that the point of diminishing return, like, and I've certainly had this with my own theories, is like, is there a diminishing return to that point though? Because while people might understand that, it doesn't give an answer still. Like, it's just very broad. It
Yeah.
doesn't, like, and then what does that lend to? Well, that lends us. So then it's like you kind of flip flop. I don't know if anybody else has felt this way, because I've had times where it's like exactly what you just said. What didn't they want to get out? Why did they have to cover it? Like I just said, one of my biggest reasons for this cover up is the motive to not expose some other parallel investigation. And thank you, Bunny Lover, for the super chat saying we'll never get to truth because the evidence is manipulated. I think the way that it's presented is manipulated. I think that Brian Koberger's DNA was manipulated or handled in such a way. But it's so broad to just say it's an ongoing operation or they're covering it up, where people don't accept that anymore because of all the things they continue to release.
No,
So,
I agree.
you know what I mean?
I totally, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like your brain still wants to go through the information. It's normal, right? We've been following this case for so long. And so it's especially free thinking type of people that are curious minded people. You want to figure stuff out. Your brain, you can't help it. Your brain wants to do that. And so that's why the information is so compelling, because I think inherently a lot of us don't believe what we were told. So we want to see if we can find the answers in any new information.
I agree. And JJ, I just want to make sure that I get this super chat read by Accomplished Day that said, Birdie, I placed my theory into slides. It's timeline based with theory events added. It all fits. Linda Lane apartment complex has stairwell at far right and allowing exit to be unseen by the Linda Lane camera. Emailing tonight or Discord drop. Yes, please do, Accomplished Day. I'm very curious to see that. And then I'd be more than happy to share it. For people that don't know, Accomplished Day is the person they called in last night, but they made that incredible timeline. If you've seen that, JJ, all the color coded timelines.
Yeah. I did see. You know what? I need to go and get a full copy of that, because I never got a full thing of it. So if
I could forward you the I could forward you the Google Drive link.
Yeah,
Pineapple Diana. Oh, sorry, JJ. Pineapple Diana, I didn't even see this at the beginning, says, does the Hive know that Ann Taylor resigned her chief legal beagle job at the hospital? Sea Turtle in Discord, last day in August, prep time for the refile perhaps. Yeah, you must have seen that right when I did, because I was shocked. That's, again, that's still a massive bombshell. Ann Taylor is potentially going private. There's a massive Idaho public defender transition that went live on October 1st of 2024. She's now practicing as a private attorney, potentially. That means that Brian Koberger gave his consent and is fully aware of it. So, again, with the theme of there being blood on the chips, in a way, guys, it's another massive detail, yet does it change anything? Like, do you know what I mean? It's kind of a sad and depressing state to be in. And I'm not trying to be a downer, because I'm not down about it. I do believe that the truth will come out. We're going to force this truth out. But I'll go back to that analogy of, I think it's not going to come from the documents, and it's going to come from leaks, sources, and interviews that are done on channels like this and the other people in this community that get people to get on here and talk. That will make sense of some of the stuff we're seeing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, so much shit. I can't think of another case where there's so many levels to it. I mean, how many cases have a former intelligence operative that writes a book about the case? I mean, I can't think of another case where that, maybe like assassinations and shit like that. That's that type of thing with like political leaders or big leader, cultural leaders, but not on a murder case.
Yeah, and Sky Blue Eyes, thank you for pointing this out and for the super chat saying, we never even see these people's faces when they're being interviewed. Like, we don't know who was talking when they were saying it. It's also wild. I'll segue off that, Sky Blue Eyes. We don't even see Brian Koberger getting arrested. They lost it. They won't give any recording. When have you ever seen that? You don't. Turn on any, and I don't care if people want to say respect their privacy, because it's not about that, meaning I'm being respectful of their privacy. I'm talking about patterns. Do you know what I'm saying, JJ? I'm talking about patterns. Like this case, it's kind of harsh to say, but murders happen every single day all over the world. This is a murder case, or so we've been told. And so when we see things that are so unusual, like Brian Koberger not being able to have his interview released, and it's just a not verbatim summary of him being arrested, why wouldn't we be suspicious?
Of course. Look, guys, this was an operation. That's why all of these questions we're asking, because there was a multi-level, semi-sophisticated operation involved with this case. That is why they don't show the arrest of Koberger. That is why we don't see an interview with Koberger. That is why all the interviews with the students and friends and family, all that peripheral people seem like just cursory, like they're just going through the motions. They're not actually trying to dig. That is why there's so much residual steaming skullduggery going on with the case, with these people coming out of the woodwork, like pushing a narrative and steering away from another narrative. That doesn't happen in a normal case.
No,
it doesn't.
And it's like, it's hard to look at it in its entirety because people want to focus on one thing or the other. And I've fallen into this trap too, where it's like, well, I bet Brian's staying quiet because Ann's going to file an appeal and retrial. But Brian Koberger was quiet from day one.
Yeah.
Okay. I bet that they're probably going to release information immediately. They've not released anything that even points to any justification of Brian that's legitimate. And we figure that out within 30 minutes of a document being dropped, guys, every time. So it's like when you zoom out and you look, and then you look at what you just said, Chris Wickham, Dr. Turvey, you look at the media, you look at the hit pieces, the smear pieces, the all these things. When you look at it all at once, some of the things might make sense on their own, but all at once it doesn't at all.
No, and again, it's if you look at just what's happening in the world in the last several years, what is the bigger picture stuff? You know, if you can't look at a case that has signs, at least in my opinion, signs of an operation with potentially intelligence involvement, without looking at what's happening in the world with these organizations. Palantir was what before it was a private company? It was a CIA contractor. Literally. That is literally who funded Palantir initially.
And I'll add to that too. Palantir was not profitable for 17 years. Somebody tell me here who has a business that is just this organic groundswell that survives 17 years not profitable. I don't care how many investors you think you know. After 17 years, then overnight you just become the richest globally contracted private security black budget fund in the world, and you have a guy who's talking about giving TED Talks about the Antichrist. No, I mean, it's CIA ties all over it. And I agree, JJ.
Well, it literally was a CIA contractor. Like that is who funded Palantir initially. So then they transitioned to the, to being this separate company. But it's like, come on, guys. Like,
no,
look, Othram has some fingerprints on it, right? We know if we start digging into the flock camera systems, I'm sure we could find a lot of agency fingerprints on that. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. And whenever I see coordinated lying, to me, it's not just some guy being framed.
Well, and what I want to say, Hottie JG, thank you so much for the super chat saying facts before feelings, people go round and rounds. I agree. And it segues right into this. If only Murphy could talk. Thank you, Phoenix Rising, for the super chat. Both these comments spot on. And JJ, I'm going to conclude this with, I just saw CFB Philly had a great comment. This is a really good point, CFB from Philly, or CB from Philly. And that is, They can't reverse it by exonerating him. People will get sued, and some people got to be arrested for it. I think this is worth discussing in a later stream, and maybe this is a good call-in topic, or if people want to touch on it for Friday. Think of the road ahead of all of the legal proceedings of the countersuing, the dollars, the money that goes into it, the secrets that will get exposed. If Brian Koberger gets exonerated and it was legit, the amount of suing, the defamation suits of the mainstream media, probably some of the victims' parents, guys, it would get so ugly. I don't even know if they want that. Would they even allow that? You know what I'm saying, JJ? Like, this is such a different type of exoneration, in my opinion, because it was so deliberately done in an operational style that it doesn't feel like this is just 1 to 3 people conspiring against him to get him framed.
Well, I said a long time ago that I predicted, this is like a long time ago. I said, because I thought it was an operation, I said, he's either going to get exonerated and they're going to use that as a pretext for more surveillance, or we never hear about it. He doesn't file post-conviction relief, and eventually people burn out and they stop talking about the case eventually. And we don't even know if the guy's in prison, you know,
right? Or they Jeffrey up, or they self-unalive him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust anything, man, anymore. It's terrible. It's really bad. I don't believe anything the government. If the government said, wow, hey, everybody, we're in this press conference. Man, we're supposed to get bad thunderstorms tonight. So, you know, we don't want you guys to get struck by lightning out there. I wouldn't believe that. I wouldn't believe the most basic things that they could say.
No, it's like the government will break your leg and then they'll charge you for the crutches, and they'll expect you to say like, oh my God, the government is so nice to me. They gave me free
generous.
crutches because they actually charge people by taxing them so that I can have, like, whatever. It's a whole, you guys get the point. But JJ, I'm going to wrap this up. Hive, don't forget, tomorrow night, I'm having the coroner, Jeff Jellison from Fox Hollow Farms. Return to Fox Hollow was just premiered on ABC 2020. They did use a couple of my early TikTok clips, so go check out episode 1. And Jeff Jellison, I emailed him this morning. He had some time on his calendar to pop into the Hive for an interview tomorrow night. That's 7 p.m. Central. Do not miss it. Jeff seems like a great guy, and I'm sure that this will be interesting. Even if you know nothing about Fox Hollow Farms, there are more remains on Fox Hollow property than there are at Ground Zero, and there's a ton of DNA and bones that are not tested, that are not found. It is ongoing to the point where they did this docuseries last summer, a year and a half ago. They returned because of all of the people providing tips and leads. So it's actually a case very opposite of the Idaho 4, where the internet has caused a lot of leads into a deeper dive and investigation. So with that, JJ, I will see you next week. We will catch up offline. Hive, have a fantastic evening. Make sure you hit the like button. And Hottie JG said all the documents are shared on Google Drive, and creators eat it ring. Creators are editing. We do have our Discord, which should have all of the new document drops. But with that, if you're not in it, you obviously can't find it. I see people ask all the time, where is it? That's where you're going to find it, is our Discord. JJ, you rock, brother. Thank you so much. Hive, sleep good. I will see you guys tomorrow with Jeff Jellison, 7 p.m. Central.
Congrats, Birdie.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
brother.
everybody.
Cheers.